Welcome to the third episode of the Energy Between. It's a pleasure today to have one of our LCI Low Carbon Initiative members, IKEA, to join us. And today we're going to explore how sustainability plays out in everyday life, and more importantly, what that looks like in a market like Taiwan. I'm Annie Shi, Energy Transition and Sustainability Officer at the European Chamber of Commerce Taiwan, and I'm joined by my co-host Raul, Chairman of the Taiwan Renewable Energy Alliance.
Thank you, Annie. Yeah, I'm looking very much forward to the discussions today. IKEA is such an iconic brand. I think everybody, or a lot of people know the brand, no matter where you are. You've probably some grown up with Billy furniture, going through the students' years or your restaurants. And it's a big part of life, and also the food. Especially when I was coming to Taiwan 18 years ago, when I got homesick, even though I'm German, I still went to IKEA for good food, right? And get some at least Northern European stuff. So I'm very glad that we have two colleagues here from IKEA today. For one is Hugo Asplund, Group Sustainability Food Transformation Manager for Indonesia, Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. Welcome. And Zhou Han, who is working as IKEA for Business B2B Manager. We're going to have a talk about circularity, sustainability, social enterprises. So it's going to be a good discussion.
Could you briefly introduce yourself, Hugo and Juan, like your role at IKEA and what leads you to the sustainability career path you have now?
Yeah, definitely. And first of all, maybe we should say a big thank you for having us on the podcast. It's very nice to be able to share a little bit of what we're doing connected to sustainability at IKEA. We're doing a lot, but there's always more that you can do. But maybe to start a little bit about myself. So my name is Hugo Asplund, and as you mentioned, I work with sustainability and food for the DFE, or the IKEA franchise DFI. So in the markets of Hong Kong, Taiwan, Macau, and Indonesia. And I've been 22 years with IKEA, had the opportunity to work in 3 different continents and 5 different countries, but mainly actually working in commercial roles. So IKEA provides the opportunity to travel the world and work in different functions and different roles and with different teams. But I've had the privilege now to work with food and sustainability for the last 5 years. And it's super exciting. It's a topic that IKEA puts a lot of effort into.
2 separate things, right? One is food and one is sustainability, or?
There is an overlap, but then there's also 2 different aspects to it, definitely. Where one is more thinking of how to improve the customer experience as much as possible, making sure that our customers are spending a really good time, a tasty time, and getting a fantastic meal at a really good price, an IKEA price, and staying a bit longer thanks to that in our stores. While the other one is looking into our overall business model and see how we can transform IKEA and make the best use of our resources. We are a resource smart company. And I've been the last 9 years here in Taiwan, actually. So I'm very happy to be in this very beautiful place.
All right. Hello, guys. Juan here. As mentioned, I'm the B2B manager here for IKEA Taiwan. And I've been in IKEA for 5 years. So compared to Hugo, I'm still an IKEA baby here, just 5 years. And I actually started my IKEA journey as the innovation and transformation manager for IKEA Taiwan. And that was fun. That was a fun period of time in which we got to try different kind of store formats, different types of customer meeting points. We were also into exploring different technologies to, of course, optimize our operations. Later, over the last 2.5 years or so, I moved into the B2B role, the B2B manager role. And during that period of time, we had the opportunity to explore this new business model called leasing, furniture leasing. And that's kind of what brought me here today. Happy to be here.
And you worked in kind of for Tesla before?
That's right. That's right. So my stint at Tesla was my only and short experience with retail prior to IKEA.
Right.
That was interesting. Of course, a very different type of retailer, Tesla and IKEA. But there were some, I guess, similarities in terms of customer meeting points and how to make the customers feel. There was a little bit of similarities between the 2 brands in terms of price transparency. Right? As everybody knows, Tesla, they don't really go through dealerships. They sell directly through their own website or through their own dealerships. They don't call themselves dealerships anymore, but their own shops. And at IKEA, well, of course, our prices are very transparent as well. And, in this furniture field, a lot of people will say that will put you at a disadvantage, right? Because especially B2B companies, they kind of are used to kind of negotiating with either interior designers or construction companies, and basically the pricing is kind of a big black box. Whereas IKEA, we're very transparent, right? You go to our website, everything is there for you to see. So there's much less room for, I guess, price negotiation there. But, we kind of turn that into our advantage in a way, right? We tell people that, there's no way that you're getting a worse deal than you would be getting anywhere else. So that also, helps put people's mind at ease, right? Especially if you're a small, medium company, right? You don't have that much budget to allocate. You want to make sure that you're getting, the best out of your budget, right? Yeah.
Right. Thanks. Yeah, perhaps we'll first walk down memory road. IKEA is actually a part of Taiwan for a very long time.
Yeah.
So and I had to check because that's also a great store which doesn't exist anymore, I think. But the first IKEA store was opened in 1994 in Dunhua North Road and Nanjing East Road, close to Taipei Arena, Xiaozhuidan. Looks from the outside not as a big store, but you could get easily lost in this one. It's probably also been quite a logistic challenge, I guess, because what you're probably used to or from is when you're in Europe, they're often greenfield developments, right? And this one was smack in the middle of the city, kind of as a starting point. So what's IKEA's journey been like in Taiwan? It was attractive for IKEA to come to Taiwan, and then, you're basically now in every major city, big footprint. So what's the journey been like for IKEA?
Yes. We have been selling IKEA furniture here for the last 30 years, but the IKEA journey with Taiwan started actually much earlier when Ingvar, who is our founder, traveled to Taiwan because he realized that Taiwan is a big production hub. So actually it started by buying a lot of bolts, nuts, and things from various suppliers. And actually last year when we celebrated the 30th anniversary, we had Ingvar's son, Peter, coming over. And he was telling a story of how the iconic Fractal bag, the blue bag that you find at IKEA, that actually came from Taiwan.
Right.
And he was telling a little bit back at that time when maybe the due diligence wasn't as strong as it is today. They were looking at the blue bag that this supplier here in Taiwan was proposing and said, how do we test the quality? And then they looked around and they found the biggest Swedish guy in the group and said, you get in. And then we lift it up and they could lift that person up in the blue bag and it held and says, yeah, this is good enough quality. Yep. You will be able to bring back an IKEA product with this blue bag. So they said, well, we'll buy it from you. So that's one of the stories of how IKEA started their relationship with Taiwan. And we're still having quite a few suppliers.
I think that story that you mentioned is so iconic. And during the annual gala last year, when we celebrated the 30 years in Taiwan, we actually, when Peter was on stage, actually, he brought back the story, right? He was interacting with the host who didn't know anything about the story. He's like, oh, so host, get in, right? So smack in the middle of the activity, get in, we'll try to lift you up. And he did it, and everybody clapped, and it was amazing. And it's amazing to see it firsthand. Yeah.
So it still holds for a Taiwanese guy as well. Yeah. No, it's true. Yes. So we did used to have a purchasing office also in Taichung, but that has now moved. But we are still here, of course, the retailing side. So you're right. We started 30 years ago with a store in the downtown Taipei. It moved. It was actually an even smaller store in the very beginning, under what is now the Sogo department store on Dunnan. Was there for a couple of years, and then we moved into the Dunhua, this location where we still are today. And it's been a bit of a rocky journey also, actually, during the years, where we had quite a lot of expansion in the beginning. We moved into Kaohsiung, we moved to Taoyuan, we built a big store in Xinchuang, in Taipei. And that took a lot of time and energy. So after that, I think we needed to catch our breath a little bit before we went into Taichung. So it's been kind of ways where we've been expanding. But over the last couple of years now, during COVID, although that was very tricky, we were able to expand. We built a new store in Neihu. We expanded to Xindian. We're now in Jai. And we see there's still a big trust and belief in Taiwan. So there's more expansion to come.
So we're going to see you at the East Coast.
There is definitely there is wish for many cities. I can tell you, especially Tainan people have been sending us a lot of messages throughout the years, and I think they were a little bit upset when we chose Jai first. It was just a pure coincidence that happened. We had a good relationship with our partner, so we ended up. And at that time, it was RT Mart. But yes, there's definitely an opportunity, and we have the East Coast, of course, on the map of expansion.
8 stores you have now, right?
So we depends on how you define it. We have 8 meeting points, but actual stores, it's only 5. Then we have some shops.
Mm-hmm. One thing I can mention about the development of these stores and shops is that, as during my time in the innovation team, right, we would try different type of meeting points in order to understand whether or not the customers would enjoy IKEA the same way as they would, a huge store, right? And I think that maybe we can't get into the specifics about where we're going to be expanding into in the next few years. But what I can say is that we will be getting closer to the customers in terms of location, right? So similar to what you're mentioning, smack in the middle of the city, the Dongbei store, like the first one. Later on, the stores kind of went more on the outskirts of the city, right, where we can have more space to build. But I think moving into the future, I think that's the direction where we're going to move back closer to the proximity of people so that it's easily accessible by them. Yeah.
All right.
And so very clearly, IKEA is part of everyday life in Taiwan. So I'd like to start with a broader question. In a market like Taiwan, how do you define or consider IKEA's role in the low carbon transition? Because we see that materials like wood, plastic, and metal account for a large share of IKEA's climate footprint. You are turning over massive amounts of furniture a year. I think like 100 million of furniture a year. And does that translate into actual product decisions in Taiwan?
Yes, IKEA is the largest home furnishing retailer. So we're, I think, one of the biggest purchaser of wood globally. So our carbon footprint is quite significant. We're talking about 20 million CO2 equivalents per year, roughly globally. What we can say is that IKEA is well aware of that our footprint is big, and we also see we have also connected that whenever we are taking in resources, it costs us money, and we are a company that really wants to ensure that whatever we do is low cost. So making smart use of resources is something that sits close to our DNA. Hence, the overall sustainability journey sits quite close to us. So IKEA has now been on a journey to see how can we actually, remove or take away, change materials, look into material, change how we use materials to make sure that whatever thing we put in the hands of our customers is something that is both functional, it has a beautiful form, it has a low price, but it's also sustainable and has the quality that you can actually live it and love it for a long time. And that is, we call it democratic design, and that's something that is kind of really built into how we develop the products. And that goes, of course, with the suppliers here in Taiwan and elsewhere. And you can see that while IKEA has been growing, we have actually been able to reduce the carbon footprint thanks to smart decisions on the material and types that we use. That's part of the upstream of the supply chain. If you look downstream, then there's plenty of things. So how can we actually make our customers love and use our products longer? Can we give them a second life? We have been quite good at taking care of the products that we use in the stores. When you're walking around an IKEA store, you will walk around and find a lot of beautiful room settings. You will be able to test and try those products. And of course, after a couple of months and maybe even years, those products will be changed to something new, and then we sell them in our as-is corner. But we have been saying, okay, there are also products that are being loved outside in our customers' home. We see a lot of them end up on Facebook or other ways where people are passing them on. And we see, there is a market. We estimate, for example, in Taiwan, that the secondhand market is the same size that we are selling every year, around the 10 billion Taiwan dollars, which is a market that we're not present in. IKEA is there, but not us. It's through the secondhand market. And that is, of course, something that is interesting because that is also a price point that we are not able to achieve today. So is there something that we can do to help and facilitate and maybe even help grow that market? And so there are various initiatives globally that is happening. We've also done some initial research. Han has also been helping together with me to see what is the potential for us here in Taiwan. We haven't started a take-back service yet. We do have some small, for example, if you're in Kaohsiung, you can actually return your baby cot to us and we will buy it back from you. So we have done some kind of sprouts of test and trials, but it hasn't really been rolled out as it has in some other markets where we do have a buyback system, especially in Europe. And I think we will discuss a little bit about the leasing business, which is, of course, a super interesting business model. So we've been playing around a little bit what we can be doing. And I think there's a lot more that will come. Because we, of course, see, the best thing is, of course, if you can have an IKEA product, you can love it for longer, and we can stay in touch with that product and you as a customer. So we together can actually make sure that product gets used as much as possible, and we can also have a relationship with that product.
Yeah, I think I know one or two Facebook group, like you mentioned, and I think they voluntarily, have this kind of Facebook group to pass down the furniture. Did that kind of inspire you in an interesting way? Did that inspire you on this business model?
Definitely. I mean, we're in the business of making sure that people can have beautiful, functional homes at a price that is as low as possible. And that is one of the channels where you can actually get sometimes really good deals. And I think that's something that we're interested in exploring. I don't know. You helped me a lot, when we investigated that. So what's your thoughts?
About its future, or about how we're doing right now?
Yeah, maybe the future, because how we're doing, we have more to do. So
we have plenty more to do, yes. Yeah. But what I can share or add on to this topic is that we've done a little bit of research to understand that, as you were saying, our business is to provide great furniture at an affordable price point, right? We haven't really been able to do that as of yet. However, what we are able to do is understand whether or not there's a demand for this in the market. As you said, in the Facebook groups and in many other secondhand markets, we can see IKEA furniture. Another set of research that we did is that we understood that Taiwanese consumers are more and more willing to accept secondhand furniture or secondhand just overall products to use. And there was a further validation to say that not only they're willing to accept it, but they're very confident about its quality. They're happy with the quality as long as it looks clean, it looks functional. They're willing to give it a shot at a lower price point. So I think that this gives us confidence, of course, also inspiration to kind of move forward with this, continue exploring different ways of making it work. Me being more in a more commercial role, I'm particularly interested in whether or not it can be sustainable business-wise, right? And I think that at this point, there's a few more kinks to work out, right, in terms of the cost of the operations. But at least what we know is that there's a demand for it in the market, so we should strive to make it work, right?
I think the key point connected to everything that you want to do is that the importance of convenience is there. And I think when it comes to secondhand, at the moment, it's quite manual. If it's on Facebook, you have to do a lot. You have to negotiate, etc. You're not really sure who the person's going to buy from you, the transport part, who's going to deliver it, etc., etc. I mean, that's coming back to the cost of it, as at the moment is not automized in the same way, so it drives up cost. That makes it quite difficult to actually make a good, strong business case for it, because, as you said, price of the product will be lower, but the operational cost is a bit high. So that's, I think, that the key thing that we need to solve. How to kind of make that work with a much larger number of customers, that transaction.
The idea would be to buy it back, clean it up a little bit, and then sell it again. Is that kind of the...
Yes, but the service that you have in other IKEA markets is that at the moment you have to bring it back to an IKEA store. You can take a picture. We will give you an estimation on roughly how much money you will get back, and you get it on a IKEA card, so you can use it in an IKEA store to buy food or buy another IKEA product. And then when you bring it back, we will evaluate it, and then we'll take it back. We'll give you money, and then if it needs fixing, we'll fix it, and then we'll put it in the assist area.
All right.
There's also some test of actually having an online platform where it's more peer-to-peer. So IKEA is only facilitating that. So there are various tests going on.
I think that it's fair to say that the biggest hurdle right now is the transportation cost, right? Especially in Taiwan, where convenience stores are everywhere. So people are so used to the convenience that you feel like you can get everything quite easily, either walking distance or somebody delivers it to you, right? So that kind of expectation is there for Taiwanese consumers. And of course, in order to make that happen for IKEA, especially if furniture is already assembled, it's kind of a big and bulky. That makes it a bit more difficult. So that I feel like that's where our breakthrough is going to come from, right? Either we find out a way to disassemble it efficiently and both cost efficiently and time efficiently, or we find out a smart way to balance the cost between the buyer and the seller, so that we can kind of enable this moving forward.
I'm just imagining people carrying their furniture into 7-Eleven or Family Mart and saying, please send this for me too.
Exactly. It's quite difficult.
That's something, Taiwan has actually quite good logistic systems in that sense. I mean, not for big stuff, but small stuff is now ordered easily online or exchanged that way. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, and before we deeper into the furniture rental services in Taiwan, can you also elaborate on the demographic design that you mentioned? How does that correlate to sustainability, or like how does it make Taiwan a unique market?
Well, coming back to the democratic design, so that there's a design principle. So when an IKEA product is being designed by the team that in Sweden, in Älmhult, it's a city in Älmhult where you have the team that is designing every IKEA product. So when they are designing that product, then they're having various aspects that they need to look into. So throughout the whole process, they kind of start off. Usually, with an IKEA product, you start with the price. But then you work yourself backwards. But then you need to make sure that the sustainable elements are there. And mainly, what we're talking about, is it recycled material used, or is it recyclable? And so we're having a metric saying we want to reach 100% of products being either recycled or recyclable. Where I don't remember the last numbers, but we're closer to 70% of the products actually is at that point at the moment. So that's a big aspect of it. Now, the question is then, so if it's recyclable, is that then recyclable in Taiwan? We are designing it, and quite often, you need to say we're a European-based, Sweden-based, with usually most of the competencies in European legislation, with infrastructure that exists in Europe. So not always are the things that we are then designing able to be recycled in all markets. I think Taiwan is a quite developed country when it comes to recycling infrastructure, although there are differences compared to what we're having in other markets. We're more struggling in a country like, or a market like Hong Kong, for example, where there's very little recycling infrastructure.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting question. You have to design globally and then kind of get it into local markets, right?
Yes.
And where can you make it fit mostly or half? It's kind of...
The job of a IKEA product designer is quite an interesting calling, because it's very difficult. It's not only about making things pretty or making things cheap, but it's a combination of all 5 things. That it's... we admire them very much.
So are you working with local designers, product designers? I know that companies are working with universities, or I think Taiwan itself, the manufacturing industry is quite creative itself. So are you working locally with designers? So
we as retailers do not work with local suppliers or furniture producers. There is then this global range development team, and there's also then a sourcing team or a supply team that are finding the suppliers. So they are the ones that are having contacts with local companies that are then manufacturers of furniture.
Then Juan, perhaps on the commercial side. So you're working with companies to sell them furniture. And what are the initiatives there to bring in more circularity or more ideas on, like, I buy it, and then when my business is not doing anymore, I have to throw it away. So what kind of options are there for companies that are more than just go into the store, get some tables, get your team working, and then...
Sure. I'd like to start answering this question by saying that all business decisions are made out of self-interest, of course. Right? So businesses, they need to make money, right? They need to feel safe and feel secure, feel like their decisions are as de-risked as possible. And I think that in this current world where there's high volatility, right, there's a global conflict, there's multiple global conflicts, there's regional conflicts and all that going on. So businesses that are moving into different countries and different markets, they're very wary of whether or not their investments are going to be safe, right? So especially for companies, European or elsewhere, coming into Taiwan, they do think it's good business, right? They want an opportunity to come in here and see whether or not they can grow. But they also feel a certain degree of uncertainty given the regional tensions, right? So their best case scenario is that they're able to come in here, right, find a location and set up an operation that is both agile, functional, and still, of course, professionally looking and all that, right? So instead of coming into a place and, for example, just buying a property and buying an office building or buying a whole bunch of furniture and just being basically stranded here for maybe the next 20, 30 years, they will look toward other options, right, in terms of what to do for their operation setup. A lot of them, kind of opt for co-working spaces to start, right? Maybe one or two people from their original company come over to Taiwan. They set it up at a co-working space. Maybe they live like that for about half a year, 1 year, and decide what they want to do afterwards. But once they decide they want to take the next step and maybe set up a interim operation where they start to grow, then they have to decide if they want to buy furniture, if they want to rent it, right? And I think that's where our leasing business comes into play for a lot of the players that we have kind of appealed to. And that is that instead of, again, buying furniture, you interact with the B2B team at IKEA, and then we discuss, what is the space that you need, right? So this leasing business that we have is highly bespoke, highly customized, right? Every kind of space is different. Every business is different, right? Some of them are, I guess, more regular office setups. Some of them require dormitories. Some of them require canteens, etc. So kind of the whole setup for the business varies business by business. But regardless of which one it is, you sit it down with us, and then we discuss your needs. And basically, we set up this leasing business in which we have a contract with you for 3 to 5 years, right? And within this period of time, you, of course, get the furniture that we help design for you at this space. And during this period of time, there's a few kind of like add-on options that you can have. You guys having been here in Taiwan for a long time, you know that we have certain holidays that we celebrate very strongly. For example, Chinese New Year, right? It's a big thing here where not only celebrate in the family, but you can see it in the decorations around the city and the office buildings. It's red everywhere, right? It's something that we do as a service we do for our B2B customers, our leasing customers, in which we have seasonal decoration, right? So during this period of time, we come in, we set your office up very pretty, very festive, right? With all the colors or all the themes necessary. And after maybe a week or two, or depending on the company, we take it back, right? So that's kind of one of the services that we also provide. But that's a little bit more of an add-on. But as an overall leasing business, the idea is 3 to 5 years, the company gets to decide whether or not they want to continue using the furniture, in which case they kind of buy it afterwards, or they can just return it to IKEA, and maybe they can move either to a bigger place or to another market or something else. So kind of that flexibility and that convenience is what the leasing business is kind of set out to capture or set up to satisfy.
So is this purely commercial driven, that decision?
I think that was kind of more the starting point, right? Of course, we having very close relationship with Hugo, and we kind of share this sustainability passion and agenda, right? So knowing that this furniture is going to come back to us within 2 or 3 years or 3 to 5 years, we then understand that this furniture can be extended in terms of its usage, right? It can be either cleaned and repaired and used in our stores or used in our operations. It can be released to another client in the future for a better price. It can be fixed and sold kind of as through our SS area, SS corner. So there's kind of different ways that we can manifest its kind of second life or prolong the life of the furniture. And I think that though the starting point was more commercial than anything else, the sustainability factor has really played into our communication and played into our value proposition in this, because once we started with this service and our name kind of got out there, more and more companies come to us with the sustainability agenda, right? They ask us, so how can this benefit our case and then from an ESG point of view, right, when we're writing our annual reports? How can this make us look good, basically, in terms of our sustainability image? And of course, we happily oblige, or we happily share what we can with them about how prolonging the life of your furniture is nothing else but a good look. So it's a combination of these two things.
And that's currently mostly with offices.
Mostly with offices, yes. Although kind of in the office setting, as I was mentioning earlier, there's many different spaces within an office that you can play around with. Employee canteens, for example, kind of part of an office, but kind of not. But they're huge spaces. A lot of times, maybe 500 ping, right? Like huge spaces. A combination of many things. I think that very soon in the future, we're also going to go into places in which we similar to, you can think about hotels in a way, right? So either it's some individual rooms or many hotel common areas in which we're going to go in and try to do the same.
I'm saying on behalf of people who rent houses in Taipei, do you see this business model go into every household, like as your furniture does? That's
a good question. This goes back to the cost factor, right? Whether or not we can make the cost work. I think that at this point, since we're relatively early in our kind of leasing business operations here in Taiwan, so our what I'm saying is that our first few clients, their contracts are nearing their end term, right? So we're kind of approaching the time in which we're kind of starting to receive the furniture back from these big clients. So we have a decision to make, right? So either we want to release them again, or we want to sell them as secondhand. So we were kind of at that point. But to answer your question, whether or not we're able to kind of provide this for kind of everybody, every home or every hostel, for example, or every kind of like business that requires furniture, it'll depend on whether or not we can bring the cost down on our end, right? I think that at this point, when we lease out our furniture is, if you think about it from a depreciation point of view, then the amount of time that it takes to lease that client, we kind of depreciated or recouped all its value, right, in terms of the lease, the product itself. So afterwards, we are able to have more flexibility about what to do with it, how to make the best of it. Now, whether or not that goes into homes, it's a much bigger decision, because that also goes into the types of ranges or the types of products that need to go into the rooms, right? For, let's say that as one of my key clients, they are leasing a bunch of chairs and desks. I don't think that a lot of homes are going to require that many, right? So I think in terms of the total product selection that we have on hand for leasing, that may be an issue at the beginning. But I think that the long-term goal, the long-term view is that, yes, eventually we want to be able to have all this available at a moment's notice and easily, accessible either through an online the journey, basically, for this to happen. Right? I think long-term, short-term, working it out.
Yeah. I think if we are looking at half on the way, because I think more younger generation is living alone or renting houses from landlords. So I think maybe working with landlords could be a plausible way. Like it's kind of similar to the commercial, your usual business model that you're working with. What do you think about this?
Definitely correct. Well, one more thing to add on my side is that I am the B2B manager, right? So either you're a landlord or you're a we call them rental management companies, 包租代管公司, rental management companies. So we consider them as businesses as well. So they are one of our target segments that we service. And we actually host a large number of seminars in our offices and we are in our different stores. So we can invite them over and tell them about our IKEA furniture and how we can basically build a functioning home, a functioning room for them at a very low price point, depending on their kind of quality standards, but different kind of price points, usually very cost effective for them. And it has been a big success. So we have seen that this is a growing market. A lot more people are doing this as a business, right? Yeah, and we actually are, the people that work at IKEA, we kind of discuss amongst ourselves, like, well, why don't we get into this business, right? Maybe there's something in it for us too. But yes, so with that growing market, we're also servicing them. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. Eventually, will they be rented, or will our furniture be rentable, to these businesses? Again, long-term view is that we hope that they will be. Short-term view is we are getting prepared.
Yeah, I think if you think long-term with the direction that IKEA is going, this is probably part of the toolkit. But I think it's important to mention that, Juan earlier mentioned we had an innovation team. This was a part of the innovation. So this is actually, a pilot, it's unique within the IKEA world that we're doing here in Taiwan. So it's also getting the recognition in the sustainability report. But because it's a pilot, it's the first, we do not have the systems. We don't have a system that says, actually, I now have 10 desks and 10 chairs in that company. We don't have anything. Everything is manual. We don't even have a system that supports, if I want to bring it back, I need to deliver this and I need to bring this back. We only have a system that says, I need to bring this. We don't have, so it's very manual that drives up the cost. So we need, for this to be able to be scaled, we need to actually get the system support in place that actually can handle this. So there's many things that needs to fall in place before we can actually start to expand it. Now we're dealing with a couple of bigger companies. There are a lot of requests, but we cannot really handle it because it's just so manual. But that's the hope, to be able to scale this up gradually, because it's definitely, the demand is there. There is also a market that is big enough for you, and also actually a model that so far has worked for us. So we can actually sustain it and then feel that it's a profitable one. So it's very encouraging. So a lot of other IKEA markets are contacting us and say, tell us a little bit about how you're doing this. So there's an interest. But sometimes as a successful company, success, unfortunately, is a bad teacher. We have been very successful of, making sure that the cheapest way of getting a piece of furniture into someone's home is to have produce it in a factory somewhere far away, put it on a container, ship that into a store, open up the container door, put it on the floor. The customer picks it up and drives it back home. It's very difficult to make it more cheap than that. And it's been very successful. And sometimes when you're too successful, it's difficult to let go of that.
Yeah.
And I think we're fighting a little bit of that internal thing as well, and saying, what will this new business model be for IKEA? Is this something for us? But if you're thinking about the vision, creating a better everyday life for the many people, the business model is to actually provide functional, beautiful home furnishing at prices that are affordable for the many people. This is, for many people, the most affordable way of actually dealing with it. Instead of buying the whole thing, you can lease it and spread it out throughout a couple of years. So it sits where the direction where IKEA is going, but there's so many things that needs to fall in place first.
Or if it's not IKEA's core business, perhaps somebody else picks the idea up.
There's the risk. There are already companies that are quite successfully doing it. And, some old IKEA colleagues are working in those companies. So
it's a good starting point.
You mentioned that I understand that you are at a decision point, but I think if we look at maybe like 2050, do you think the business model of IKEA, like what the percentage is between individual products selling to customers directly and versus this kind of furniture rental service? What do you think the percentage could be?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I think that I wouldn't be surprised if we dare to take that decision that more than half of what we're doing is actually, leased. There's still going to be a need for people that want to own things. That's not going to disappear. But I think with the changes in life and the unpredictability and also your life changes is going to happen more fast. Then instead of, putting down your stick in the ground and rooting yourself, that flexibility is something that more and more are going to ask for. And I think this leasing is going to or rental is going to fit perfectly into that.
You see that in some markets, like I'm also working in the Philippines, right? And you see there in the office rental market that people started far more working from home. There was big offices that are empty, and you want to morph and be flexible. So that could be also part of all these new business models, also for all these more like temporary offices you use. Perhaps just as a last topic, Hugo, to go into. So IKEA has been a long time in Taiwan, long time part of the society. So what is the company doing in terms of community work, outreach, supporting local entrepreneurs? What's going on right now at IKEA in Taiwan?
Very good. Yes. To start off with, Ingmar was very clear also from the beginning that he wanted to IKEA not to just be a retailer. He wanted also someone that made a positive impact to the local communities. And if the communities are thriving, that's also good for IKEA. The more people who are living there that have a living salary, etc., it's good for us. So we are quite active. Or community engagement or fair and equal is what we say. We want to make sure that both the people who are working within IKEA, but also the communities around, are having possibilities. So we have throughout the couple of years been engaging with, for example, organizations like World Vision. We have delivered meal deliveries, and we also had a campaign called Light Up Hope. So we were providing electricity and to actually families that were underserviced in Taiwan. So we've been having various different partnerships, but we're now very excited about being able to team up with IKEA Social Entrepreneurship, which is a part of IKEA, our franchisor, that is then supporting local social enterprises to increase their impact and scale up. Because we realize that we want to do a lot of good things, but sometimes it's better to partnering up with someone who is dedicating, most of their waking time to solve a certain problem and do that through a company. So not just charity. It's not donations. They're actually having a business idea where that business is actually giving back to the local communities. So we have actually just launched. It was announced during the Social Enterprise World Forum in October, this collaboration with a fantastic local partner, Social Enterprise Insight here in Taiwan. They are the one that kind of launched the first social enterprise platform in Taiwan. So a fantastic network and a fantastic team that they're having. So together with the Social Enterprise Insight here in Taiwan, Social Entrepreneurship that sits in Holland, and us here in IKEA Taiwan, we are now searching for 5 to 8 social enterprises focusing on agriculture here in Taiwan that we will start an accelerator program for right after summer. So we're in recruitment process, and then we'll take them through that accelerator program, and that will mean that they will have access to knowledge, competence within IKEA, mentorship with local expertise, but also the possibilities of potential funding to scale up. So a unique opportunity for Taiwanese social enterprises. And I think we were actually meeting a lot of different potential partners. And there's a lot of actually accelerator programs in Taiwan, helping small companies to accelerate. But what we found out is they're very professional. They've done a lot of good jobs. But their main ambition was to how do we scale them up and make them go international and earn a lot of money? We said that there's a gap here because there's no one really talking about how do we help them create social impact. So that's really where we want to go in. So we want to find that those social enterprises says we want to scale and grow up, but that growth is going to benefit the local communities, not just the shareholders or the owner and the founder. So I think that's what makes me really, really excited about this. We're as I said, we're right in the middle of the recruitment. So I hope if there's anyone interested in listen to this podcast, please share it with or go on to the links that maybe we'll be able to share afterwards.
Put on the description, yes.
So that they can go in and find more information. Also, I wanted to say a little bit, one thing that makes me really happy is that we also said that this is not going to be just an opportunity for the social enterprise. It's also going to be an opportunity for our co-workers within IKEA Taiwan. We want them to learn and understand what are the social challenges that these social enterprises are working with. What do their reality looks like? What are the challenges that they are facing? And how can we potentially support so that we grow knowledge, awareness, but also interest, and potentially also create a lot of change makers within our organizations. People that says, this is something that interests me. Maybe I want to contribute a bit more to the community where I am. So we have an ambition to reach 500 out of our 2,000 colleagues. So 25% of our colleagues should be engaged in these activities.
Okay. But why Taiwan? On that one, you have IKEA's global. You have a foundation. You are in a lot of markets. How did you get Taiwan in there?
It was not an obvious choice for IKEA Social Entrepreneurship. They have already a couple of these accelerators going in Mexico, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, for example. So initial thought is, okay, there are countries where there's the vulnerable communities are more obvious. But what we saw was that the climate change is impacting everyone. Food insecurity is impacting everyone. In Taiwan, there's a quite thriving social entrepreneurship sector. Still, the agro-economy is quite big. We're having also a very experienced IKEA organization that could then step in and be a good partner. And we have a strong support from the management team. And I think when you put that all together, it was a pretty strong case to say, how can we actually do then an accelerator connected to food? Because food is actually, Taiwan and Hong Kong are the markets in the world that has the highest food share out of all IKEA. So it also felt quite natural. So there's a connection to where our business strength sits.
And what, if I am a social enterprise, so first of all, what's the qualification for a social enterprise in that particular accelerator? So you said it's not charity, right? Can it be associations, or it has to run under a certain, what does qualify them? Yes. And what is the accelerator bringing to them?
So, I mean, we are going to have a selection process where we will go through. And of course, what we're going to look into, what is really your business model? What does it look like? What is it? How are you going to generate both income, but also social impact? And how could that potentially be scaled? Then I think we are less focused on the actual form of your company, although of course there is a definition on a social enterprise, so we will kind of try to have that as a priority, but it's more about what is it that you want to do and how could you scale that business model. Right. So that's what we're looking for to start with.
And then you said the accelerator, then for example your colleagues will help.
Yes.
If somebody has a small company, they have really great ideas, but they might lack the acumen in accounting or in marketing. So that's what the accelerator brings. So
quite often what we see is that there's difficult to find access to market, to customers. There's issues with marketing. There's all this administrative task, financial support, literacy, etc. And also access to funding. So all of those things, there's going to be support throughout this accelerator program. Professional support helping them to kind of clarify their business model, understanding where the gaps are, how they can actually find support and fill those gaps. And then part of that could be mainly we think that IKEA could provide with a lot of insights on how we have been doing it, but there's also going to be other that we can connect them with, so to provide that expertise and subject matter expertise.
And the accelerator runs for how long?
We're going to have 2 cohorts, and the first cohort is roughly 1 year.
All right. So it's then up to 16 companies.
Yes.
Yes. All right. And you can still apply until when?
You can apply until I don't remember exact date. It's in May. So let me
We're also going to put it into the description. No, but that sounds really exciting. Yes. And, Taiwan is also a place where people, if needed, come out and help and have all these support systems. And agriculture is also a very interesting topic for Taiwan.
Yes.
That's
the passion for food is tremendous here in Taiwan.
That's also true. Yes.
Here.
Yeah. It's probably also one of the markets, yes, where that really is important still.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Really good discussion. Yes. And we're looking forward to a successful leasing program, hopefully. That sounds really exciting if that really finds its way into the market and gets adopted on a larger scale. And we're going to trail the social entrepreneurship accelerator. That sounds something that will bring a real impact.
We'll invite you for the demo day where you can taste all the fantastic food. That's one of the days that I look forward to the most.
Well, I think that there's a lot of reason to be optimistic, especially for the leasing program, because we're actually not only getting support from the private business community, but also from the government. Right? There's plenty of government institutions led by the Ministry of Environment, and underneath it, the Resource Circulation Administration. So both of these entities, government entities, are our leasing clients, basically. So they kind of playing the role of leading by example, right? And of course, companies that they are in close contact with are also very interested in understanding more about the leasing business. So the Cathay Group, for example, they have multiple spaces in which they also lease from us. So this is all good reason to be encouraging and optimistic. So yes, look forward for this to continue growing. Thanks for your time today.
I think the timing is right.
Yeah.
So the vectors are pointing in the right direction. And just as a very concrete thing that I feel, the business team are coming to us, say, can you help us with these sustainability aspects? That didn't used to happen. But that's a sign that we need this because this is important for us in our dialogues with the customers.
Suddenly comes up. Yeah.
That shows that the customers are valuing this. And sometimes I don't have the answer, and that's quite frustrating. For example, if we lease, how much CO2 reduction would I actually reduce? Being able to provide that information is quite important. With the increasing demand for reporting, for example. I think IKEA, that has the full value chain, we're having a unique position to actually do a quite accurate accounting and say, this is actually the climate footprint of this product. Because we own the forest. We are connected to the supplier. The supplier has, we have all the data from there. We are responsible for the transportation and the sales. So with that, first of all, we can reduce it. So we're actually going to have a really good product. We can also really inform people, this is actually what you're saving.
The trend. Yeah. No.
But we're not there yet. We're still, struggling on getting that detail at that level where we actually can provide it to our customers. We're getting closer.
Oh, it's good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.